Today I'll be teaching on how to make this simple, beautiful free gown. That's what I'll be teaching on, how to cut and sew. Please stay tuned. Watch till the end. I love you. To start with, this is the measurement I'll be using. The shoulder to shoulder is 16. The bust is 38, waist 38. Shoulder to waist 16, hip 42, and the full length is, or gown length, is 54. So the first thing is I've folded my fabrics into 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I hope we can see it. I've folded my fabrics into 4 using the division of the hip. I divided the hip by 4, then added my allowance. I will be taking 1 inch for the hip allowance. That is 42 divided by 4, 10 and a half, 10.5. Then plus 1 inch, plus 1 inches for his allowance. That's 11.5. Plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. That is 12.5. Plus 5 inches for movement allowance. I want it to have enough space for the person, or you're enough room for the person to move. So that is 12 plus 5, 17 inches. So on my fold here, I'm having 17 inches all together. I hope we can see this. Let me move my camera closer. 17 inches all together. So the next thing now is for me to start imputing my measurements. It's a free gown. There's not much to it. First thing now is to take the full measurement. Firstly, I'm going to take the gown length. I'm going to add 2 inches to the gown length for the same allowance. I'm adding 2 inches to the gown length because I want it to flow a little bit. So I'll be marking at 56. 54 plus 2 inches, that gives me 56. So here I go. So after marking at 56, the next thing now is to impute my shoulder to shoulder measurements. I'm using 16. 16 divided by 2, that is 8, plus half inch, that is 8.5. So I'll be imputing 8.5 here. Then I'll go back down by 1 inch because it's a free gown. I'm going down by 1 inch. At that 1 inch, I'll take another 8.5, which is my armhole depth. Now, at this point, I will input my bust measurement. The bust measurement is 38 divided by 4. I have 9.5, 9.5. So I'll be taking 9.5, then 1 inch for seam for his allowance, and 1 inch for seam for sewing allowance. So everything I'll be having there will be 11.5. So I'll be having 11.5 here. Since the waist and the hip is the same thing, I'll just move down to the shoulder to waist. I'll just mark the shoulder to waist measurement. So the shoulder to waist measurement is 16. So I'll be taking 16.5. I'm going to have half an inch here for sewing allowance, joining at the shoulder. So I'll be taking 16.5. I'll mark at 16.5. Then at 16.5, now I will input the same what I have here, which is 11.5. I'm going to input the same 11.5 since the waist and the waist and the bust is the same thing. I just draw my straight line like so. Then on the shoulder, I'll mark 8.5 as well here to draw my armhole depth line. So this is the armhole depth line. When I'm through with this, I will I'll draw the armhole curve. Then here at the neckline, I'll be going in by 3. Then I will draw my, it can be 2.5, it can be 3, depending on what you like on the neckline you are taking. I will draw my shoulder slope. The next thing now is to impute my hip. Right from the top again, I'm going to take 26. The hip line is usually 25 to 26 away from the shoulder line. So I'm going to use 26. I'm going to take 26, and I'm going to impute the hip measurement at 26. The hip measurement is 42. 42 divided by 4, I have 10.5, plus 1 inch seam allowance, that is 11.5, plus 1 inch sewing allowance, that is 12.5. So I'll be taking my 12.5, and I will draw down my curve. That is the hip curve. Then at the hip line, I'll just go down by 3 inches. Taking the same measurement I have here, 12.5. I'll bring it down to the 3 inches, draw a straight line. Then after that, I will draw like a triangular, I will make it triangular down from these 3 inches, not from the hip line, from the 3 inches I drew here. So I'm going to make a triangle shape down to the length of the dress. So the moment I'm through with this, I will draw my armhole cuff now. I'm going to take the back armhole cuffs first. So for the back armhole, I'll be marking the middle 8.5. The middle of 8.5 is 4.25. So I'm marking here at 4.25. Then I'll take my cuff ruler and draw a curve to this place, I'll be including the ease allowance. So I draw my curve here, starting from the ease allowance. You know, after taking the bust measurement, I added 1 inch ease allowance. So I'm going to take the curve from the hip allowance to the middle, and that would be the back curve. So I'm not yet taking out the neckline for some important reason. So what I'll be doing now is I'll be cutting out the gap. So after cutting out, this is what I'm having. So I want to shape the lower back side, the head. So I need to shape this end. I don't want it triangular like this. So what I'm going to do is I will be coming up by 1.5 inches here at the head. I will use my ruler to draw a nice curve. Make sure you align properly before cutting, so that at the end of the day, one won't be longer than the other. So after aligning properly, I'll cut off like so. So now, looking at the hem, I have a nice curve here. Then after this, I will now take out the back neckline. I will also make sure I align the clothes very well. For the neck width, I'll be taking 4 inches. 4 inches for the neck width. So I'll add my seam allowance, half inch. So the total of what I'll be taking for the neck width is 3.5. You know, I'll be adding towards this side. So I'll be having 3.5 inches for the neck width. Then for the depth of the back, I'll be taking 1.25 inches. Then adding seam allowance of 5 inches, I'll be taking 7.5 inches. Then I'll use my hand to draw a nice curve. You are always free to recheck with your tape rule at all times, so that you make sure that what you are taking is right. So after that, I'll just take out. Before you take this out, I can take it out, but before you take it out, for the purpose of those that are just learning, let me take the depth of my front neckline. The depth of the front neckline I'll be using is 4 inches. So 4 inches. Then I will join my 4 inches to the same 3.5 that I've taken here. Then I'll be going down by another 4 inches. I want it to, if you look at the style, it has a small opening. So I want, for that small opening, I'll make it 4 inches from the neckline. I'll be taking down, but I will not open the 4 inches now. I'm just going to cut on the 4 inches for the neckline and the back neckline. So with this now, I'm through with the back. So the next thing now is I'll be taking out the front neckline and the front armhole. So I'll be cutting on these 4 inches that I curve, but I will not cut on this. I will show us how we are going to do this. I'll just cut on these 4 inches first. Then for the armhole, at the middle, I will be going in by 0.75 at the middle. So after going in by 0.75 at the middle, I will take my curve ruler again. I will make sure that the point is at this 3 points. I'll be joining these 3 points together. So after drawing out the curve, I will now cut it out. So at this point, the next thing is I'll be cutting facing. Be facing for the two. So to cut out the facing, I have 2 pieces here. This first pieces is 6 inches by 11 inches, which is okay for me. It can be 10 inches. I'll be using it for this front to cut the facing for the front. I will just put it underneath this way. So I'll just put it underneath like this, and I'll make sure that it aligns with my dress. So I'll make sure that it goes beyond these 4 inches. Whatever I'm using for this facing must go beyond these 4 inches that I'm marking here, because I'm still going to cut on it. So after aligning it properly, then I can now cut it out. So I'll just curve this side a little bit, like so. To this, I'll be attaching my interfacing to this to make it harder. So that is the facing for the front. Then for the back, I want my facing to get to the armhole. So here I'm having up to 9.5 inches by 8 inches, which is even too big, but it's okay like that. It's better for me to have excess than to have shortage. So I'll just be putting it under the dress like this. And on this armhole, I'll make sure 6 inches down. I don't want it to exceed 6 inches down. So I can push it up a little bit. After aligning it properly, then I cut. So I'll just cut on it like this. So this is the facing for the back. Then I will also attach interfacing to this. So after ironing my interfacing to the facing, this is what I have. I iron a medium interfacing to it. So the next thing now is to sew. I will be turning right side. I will be taking right side to right side. I'm taking right side to right side. And I'll place it, align it, and sew round. I'll be sewing round like this. After sewing round, I will fold it and make sure it aligns like this. Then I'll go and iron and come back to tell us the next thing. Then for the back, I will also place the interfacing right side to right side. I will align it right side to right side. I will sew round. After aligning right side to right side like so, I will sew round, then top stitch and come and tell us